Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan Hasn't Seen. It is the finale of our directorial debut series. It's one we have been looking forward to because we've known for ages that this was going to be our video podcast episode of the month. And we're right at the end of April. Now, you know, it's been ages since the last video podcast episode. It's how the polls manage to work themselves out through the voting systems that we do put out there every month for you to vote on, obviously. Which episode of either series, either the main show or on this show, you want to see our full faces for. You want to see as a fully fledged behind the scenes video podcast episode. It's not really behind the scenes though, is it? You just get to see our expressions as well as hear them should you wish to by obviously on the It's Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. So do subscribe and ding your notification bell if you are over here or there today, or subscribe of course wherever you are listening. If you are an audio listener, we of course love you equally as much. But this movie today, Jeannine, is very interesting. It is one I've been actively kind of looking forward to. I think when you first suggested it for this series, it is obviously dealing with a period in recent history that is incredibly fascinating for many reasons, and I think this is such an interesting way of getting into that period in history, to present real people in a fictional setting, essentially, which is kind of what it's doing, but have those real people. It's kind of a half biopic, isn't it? It's not a true story, but it is a depiction
but we're getting real things
real
about these
people.
men.
And very true to life things about very four prominent American black men from the early 60s, obviously. And we're dealing here with fundamentally the whole movie is kind of about responsibility and how they themselves feel responsible for helping pushing on the kind of civil rights movement of the era in the US in their own way, and how that can conflict with each other's specific ideologies and maybe specific mentalities, how arguments can kind of come from that. And it never offers, obviously, any definitive answer on whose idea of what they're doing is better than anybody else's, but it's kind of a plotless movie in many ways, because it's just kind of full of
it's just a conversation, really.
It's just a conversation, just very introspective debate from four great actors playing four great people of the era. And of all, of the 20th century, really, if not all time. But it's so impressive how they're able to do that, how they're able to keep this movie feeling so heart-pounding, I think, a lot of the time, feeling so palpable, feeling so like there's so much tension there, while depicting all these men as at least good acquaintances, if not genuine friends with each other. Which is very interesting. But obviously we're going to get into all the details of it. Was this a movie that you kind of felt had to be in this directorial debut series? Obviously we should say as well, it is Regina King's directorial debut. That is the fact of that. I believe it was actually released, or so you said in a few little notey bits before recording, it was released on her 50th birthday, which is definitely on purpose, fully.
And of course she looks nowhere near 50.
No. you
because
know.
black don't crack. But yeah, I wanted to include at least one woman filmmaker in this series, particularly a black female filmmaker. And this movie did really well. It got Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
And it's just a really well crafted and interesting narrative. It's this really kind of fun fly on the wall scenario that you set up with figures that we have some idea of, and then incorporating kind of aspects of their real lives with what we kind of can, imagine what they would have
Yeah.
discussed. Is
I think
such an
we
interesting
know
way.
kind of some of these people more than we know, or we know a couple of them more than we maybe
Mhm.
know, the other two of them for
Yeah,
somewhat obvious reasons. We do have Malcolm X, Cassius Clay, obviously would become Muhammad Ali, Jim
yeah.
Brown, the
Mhm.
football player turned actor, and Sam Cooke. Now, Sam
Yeah,
Cooke, we probably know the least about because
yeah.
he died very young.
Yeah, he
Um,
died the same
so-
year this movie is set.
yeah,
It's set, like, in April or something of '64, and he died in real life in December of '64.
yeah. Obviously, Malcolm X would be assassinated, I think, 1 year in 1965 was Malcolm X assassinated.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So yes, there's many, obviously a lot of text on Malcolm X, the
Mhm.
autobiography of Malcolm X. There's so much on Malcolm X that we get to know exactly kind of the man
Yeah,
he
the
was.
Spike Lee film, yeah, all of
The
that.
Spike Lee I mean, everything. There's so much about Malcolm X that we get to know who he was. And Cassius Clay, Ali, obviously,
Mhm.
was a massive public figure, was constantly doing talk shows and very, very much in the public eye. Yes, okay, quite a grand, you know, performative person that Ali
Mhm.
was up until he became very ill, obviously, like he did before he passed away. But I feel like we know a lot about him from those kind of
Mhm.
very, very public facing interactions. Jim Brown, we probably don't know quite as much about because he would become a kind of cult actor and maybe not in the most mainstream way um, from his really successful American football career
Yeah.
that he decided to kind of cut maybe shorter than would have been expected because he found this new venture into movies, which is spoke about at great length in the
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah,
at
I like that they
times
brought
made a
that
bit
up.
fun of.
Yeah, and I like him kind of trying to justify it and, um, talk about, you know, wanting to do more and building on, these legacies that they're discussing. So I like that they did take the time to delve into this shift for him and that being kind of a major part of his story here, with the
Yeah,
others.
yeah. It is though. It's a movie, One Night in Miami, that really just it's anchored by such interesting debate. And if you're interested in that time in history, which I think
Mhm.
it's kind of, if you like any form of history, it's kind of impossible not to be because it's such a really contentious time. It's a fiery time. It's a
Yeah.
incredibly tense time in all kinds of ways, but particularly, the US and everything that's going on
Mhm.
with all these kind of movements, Vietnam War raging on,
Yeah.
the
Civil
Cold War
rights.
raging on, civil rights issues raging on, and every other such issue possible.
Mhm.
What, 6 months before this movie's set, you've just had Kennedy assassinated. It's
Yeah.
really just
A
a
boiling
mad
point in
time, a
American
boiling
history. Yeah.
time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, it's why this period will kind of always intrigue me so much, and this movie is so unique in being that half biopic and
Yeah, we explore these
expressing.
huge things through
Yeah,
just little conversation.
you are exactly, you're exploring all these massive incidents, all these massive polarizing things going on in that country at that time, but you're doing it in essentially a fictional setting, because this meeting between Malcolm X, Cassius Clay, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke in a Miami hotel room didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
But I can't. The fun thing about it is that it could have done in
Mhm.
reasonable circumstances. It
Yeah.
kind of could have done, and the movie depicts how that could have come to be. You know,
Yeah.
at the very beginning, and then it's probably the most true narrative you get in the movies, how they all get there in the first place. I think it opens really interestingly with each of the four characters um, dealing with their own sort of. It kind of opens in a way where each of our four characters will seemingly have done something great, or have gotten to a great height, or have gotten some sort of justifiable respect, but then it
Mhm.
kind of shuts them back down,
Yeah, and
and it
knocks them
forces them
down.
to
Mhm.
think about, their place, or how people view them, or what it may be.
Yeah.
um Jim Brown goes back to a mentor of his in Georgia, and he's welcomed very warmly at this
Yes.
big
Yeah.
Georgia house, and they have a drink outside, and I think it gets to a point where Jim Brown offers to move some furniture for them inside,
Yeah.
and the guy literally says, "No, we don't allow N words inside the house."
Yeah.
Like,
After
come
all of that,
on,
this
where's
this
that
big
come from?
spiel, yeah, this big spiel about, "I'm so proud that you're from our town, you're,
Yeah.
a gem on our island, we, are so proud of you, we appreciate everything you've done, we're happy to claim you." And then I think his daughter, Beau Bridges, plays this mentor figure, comes out and says, "Oh,
Yes.
I need you to help me move this furniture." And so he's like, "Oh, you moving furniture? You need help?" And yeah, and then he says, "No, you're not allowed in the house." And just immediately just, you know, kicks him right back down
Yeah.
after lifting him up for this whole kind of conversation that they're having.
But that's
And then
kind
we,
of that is senseless racism at that point, because
yeah.
how can Beau Bridges in that opening say all that and be so proud if he's still fundamentally in the back of his mind thinking,
Seeing this difference
I'm not
between
no, I'm
them.
not going to allow him in my house though because of the color of his skin.
His skin, yeah. I can respect him for what he's doing for my favorite sport and that he's from where I'm
Yeah,
from, but, that's as far as the connection goes.
yeah. Like,
Um,
respect should be respect. So
exactly, and so
you shouldn't be
we
able to cut off.
yeah, and so we're faced with, no matter what your accomplishments, you're still othered in this way, and then we see it with
Yeah.
Sam Cooke as well, when he finally gets this really coveted spot playing at the Copa, like, that's a big deal
Yes.
for a singer in this time, and he goes out there, and they won't even let him go out there with his band, so he has to play with these people he's not familiar with, who might not know his songs or play them in the way he wants to play them, and as soon as he walks out there, people just start getting up and leaving. And then
Yeah.
he's struggling with his microphone, and people are whispering and leaving and, making faces, and, um, he's struggling with his performance, and, what else is he gonna do? So he gets this really great position, but he's still faced with people not wanting him to even be there. So again, a situation where a high and immediately becoming a low because of
Yeah.
the stakes of the world at the time.
Yeah. I mean, to speak on a little bit of the casting in this movie, which I think is so
Mhm.
vital to something like this. It's vital to any biopic, really. And
Mhm.
no, okay, we're not calling this a true biopic, even in the sense that we got, last week with
Yeah.
Antoine Fisher.
Yeah.
Um, you have to cast that famous person
Oh, yeah.
properly.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
my God, in all four cases here, does this movie just nail it? I think.
Yeah, it's so great, that casting, and, you talked about, the 2 more well-known figures in this
Yeah.
foursome. I think there's a reason that I think when Oscars kind of time came rolling around to do campaigning, they put, Eli Goree and, Kingsley Ben-Adir up for lead actors, and the other
Yeah.
2 supporting, and they pretty much all had equal screen time. But I think those 2 being the most well known, us having, records
They're
and
the
record
larger
records of
personalities of
yes, and we have so much, you know, records of seeing how their mannerisms and how they speak and
yeah.
all of these things. Um, they had the hardest, I think, job to do to not be caricatures of these people and put
Yeah.
on, their cadences and try to do, a mocking kind of performance of them.
Yeah, I
So
mean, especially in the case of Cassius Clay, who would
mhm.
obviously become Ali. I should say, should we just call him Ali for the sake of this movie? I mean,
Yes.
at the end of at the end of the
He
movie
does
is when he
decide,
actually
yeah,
decide to do the name
he
change,
changed
as
his
we all
name.
know he
Yeah.
did. So let's call him Ali because it's
Yeah.
what he decided to change his name to, and we should respect that and not kind of. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's quite the same as dead naming because I don't know if he got offended by people
People
referring
still
to him as
calling him.
Cassius Clay,
Yeah, I don't
but
know. But
not
yeah,
sure
just for
actually.
the sake of ease of conversation.
For the sake of
Yeah,
ease of conversation. But
yes,
no,
they definitely
yeah,
had, I think, the harder job to do to not make us feel like they were doing this caricature copying performance and that they were
yeah,
really making these men feel, um, real. And I think there was a really interesting thing they did with Kingsley Ben-Adir when he goes into one of his very Malcolm X style, like, sermon speeches,
yeah,
and, um at a certain point when he gets, like, kinda irritated about something, the tone that he puts on for those speeches goes away, and they call him out on it. Like,
yeah,
they say, "You're not even, speaking in your fancy way of talking." So, I liked that they threw something like that in there to show that, you know, this was his air of speaking when he's speaking to particular people. This is his air of speaking when he wants to try to get through to somebody, but there
yeah.
were aspects of him that weren't kind of putting this on, so that when the actor's doing it, it doesn't feel put on, it feels like this is something that Malcolm X himself
Yeah.
did,
I think I
so I
think I
really
think that's
appreciated that.
yeah, it's a very, very specific thing. It's such an understandable thing as well. I'm sure I've said in at times on or maybe even recently, I think
Yeah,
said
recently you said
on a
that you
show.
have a different you have a different kind of cadence that you put on when you're hosting the show and talking, on this podcast to how you really speak with your, natural, accent.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a cadence and a pattern more
Mhm,
than an accent necessarily. I'm kind of just purposely trying to be a bit more clear in my
yeah,
speaking when I'm doing this. So it is probably more of a cadence and a pattern. And obviously, let's not be silly and assume I'm likening myself to Malcolm X, which is a ridiculous thing to do.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not. It's not that. But I like that it's put in there in Malcolm
mhm,
X, or in the character of Malcolm X in this movie, and called out on, and then Malcolm having to kind of explain that, yeah, what I do is kind of performative. It is of course, it has to be a
mhm,
performance to a degree because these people are only going to listen if I do this in this particular way.
right, yeah, mhm,
And look, he is clearly, I think we know this from him, the real Malcolm X as well, clearly the most serious man of these four men as well. Like, Ali is obviously, he's very serious in what he does, but he's kind of fun loving a lot of the time. He's a
yeah,
jokester.
Mhm.
A lot of the time. He's able to be that large, theatrical,
Yeah.
jokey, big smiling kind of presence.
Mhm.
Jim Brown, far more laid back, and then Sam Cooke as kind of the party rock and roll star of the time, which he of course
Yeah.
was, but you know, he likes fast cars, fast women, drinking, drugs, and that's what Sam Cooke kind of was like.
Yeah.
Um, but Malcolm X is obviously he's rigid. He loves his family. He loves his faith. He loves his purpose. He loves his passion,
Mhm.
and nobody making fun of any of that is going to stand well with him, even if he's their friend, they're his friend. He's just going to take everything very, very seriously.
Mhm.
Um, in this kind of way, he acts as a great leader of this group of four, but he's also the
Yeah.
most different of the group of four. Like you can see Arlie, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke meeting up and going on quite a wild night together
Yes.
and
Yeah.
enjoying themselves. But kind of Malcolm being there forces them into a little bit more of, oh,
We're
come on,
more of a serious place,
we've
so
got to
yeah, we
behave here, Malcolm.
yeah,
Malcolm.
we can't be too crazy because yeah, Malcolm won't
He's like
like
a
it.
head teacher.
Yes. I mean, even this is supposed to kind of just be, for the most part, a friendly conversation, a friendly hangout situation.
Yeah.
And Malcolm is
Supposed to
using
be
the
get
time.
some drinks round, get some
Yes,
well, Malcolm X
exactly.
obviously doesn't drink, but that's you know, that's a point in the movie, I suppose. But
Yeah, but he takes this time to like try to, educate them and and counsel
yeah.
to them. Like when he talks to Sam about his music and he's, basically kind of saying his music is vapid and, he has this platform and he could use it to say something poignant and say something to the people and unite them and um talk about what people are really scared of and worried about and relate to them, but he's just singing these sappy love songs. Um,
Nothing wrong
and
with
then,
Sam Cooke's happy love songs, I'd like to point
exactly.
that out.
But then what comes out of that, in
Yeah.
this fictional conversation is a beautiful song that he ends up singing. And I love that we see him perform it and we see, tears coming from his eyes that
Oh,
he
it's an
finally.
incredible
Mhm.
performance. I love
Yeah.
that kind of the story Malcolm X tells of seeing Sam Cooke perform Chain Gang, though, as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
Kind of off the cuff when he was at this club somewhere, this hotel somewhere,
Yeah.
and the mics had gone out, his band had
Because
left him, he
yeah,
walked
because
out,
his
we're not gonna look stupid, you know, we're gonna
I
leave you out here to look
yeah,
stupid.
like a competitive performer who always was in, like, conflict with him, went out
Yes,
performed
Jackie
before
Wilson,
him.
I think it was supposed to
Yes,
be.
and after Jackie performs, he unplugs and messes with all of
Yeah,
the sound
yeah,
stuff so that when Sam goes out there, he has no sound. Yeah, so his band abandons him, people are starting to boo, throw things at him, um, and Malcolm's about to leave as he's watching in the audience, but then he sees Sam, like, take a moment to figure out what to do in this
yeah,
moment, and he gets the
gets the
crowd back
crowd. Yeah,
stomping and singing, and even though, like, only the first few rows can hear him, he's gotten the
yeah,
whole audience stomping and singing along that they're still enjoying themselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful off the cuff rendition
Yeah,
of that
so
great
he's
song, and obviously, in the casting of Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke, you've got a
yeah,
great
he
singer
gets to
there.
sing those songs, and he's bringing his voice while also trying to do a little bit of replicating of Sam Cooke's voice as well, and I think he
Yeah,
does a really good job of balancing that. Um,
really does.
and
I've
yeah.
noticed definitely some very, very specific Sam Cookeisms in the
Yes,
singing
and
that
yeah, so
he
you can
was
tell
using.
he studied kind of his tone and things like that. But yeah, Malcolm uses that story to get through to Sam that, I've seen what you're capable of musically. I've seen how you can get a crowd with you. So why not
Yeah,
use that ability to say something meaningful, to say something that speaks to the people in this very difficult moment. Um, and so then at the end of the film, we end with seeing him, you know, he kind of scoffs at Malcolm at first, like, no, people enjoy these sappy love songs. It's what's making me my money. Why would I change that kind of thing?
Yeah. Sam's
He gets a little
argument
defensive
is
about it.
I have the the power we're all looking for as black men in the 60s,
Yeah.
black American men in the 60s.
Mhm.
I have hits, I have wealth, I have everybody fawning over me wherever
Mhm.
I go. Is that not fine?
What we're trying to
Is that
aspire
not
to
what
here, as we
exactly?
have this conversation, we're talking about our impact. Is that not impact enough? And,
Is my
Malcolm.
impact any less than yours, Malcolm, just because it's different to
Yeah.
yours? Is my
Yes,
impact any less than Cassius's, who's just won the championship, the heavyweight championship
yeah, mhm.
in his opening scene that we
Yeah.
get? Is my impact any less than no, of course it's not. Are you saying that Cassius's impact is any less than yours? He's the heavyweight
Yeah.
champion of the world. Everybody
Yeah.
knows his name. He's massive. He's going to get the same amount of love and affection and wealth and success from this that we all strive for. You,
Yeah.
Malcolm, don't have a real job, which is what
Yeah,
he
they
kind of
don't.
he argues
Yeah.
back, which is
Yeah.
a kind of madly hilarious thing to think about. He's kind of like, well,
Yeah, like, how are
I
you getting your
guess
money
so.
to live your life
How
and provide
was
for your
Malcolm X
family?
getting his money?
Yeah, and providing for his family. We see a scene where somebody throws, a Molotov cocktail into his house and burns his home
Yeah,
down, and him and his family have to run out. Like, how is he providing for them in doing what he's doing? Um so for him to kind of come at Sam in that way, but
it's
when
very
he
volatile.
frames yes, but when he frames it in this way of like, I've seen the power you have to get through to our people. So why not direct that in a more,
Mm,
poignant way? Of course, what you're doing and your success means a lot, and it's going to be this iconic thing amongst Black people, particularly in this time. But you could be doing more, is what Malcolm is kind of pushing him, because I've seen
yeah,
you be capable of more, is kind of what his messaging is. And I like that
yeah.
he finds a way to get that message to Sam by the end of the film when we see him
Oh,
do that
yeah,
really solid performance that brings
yeah.
him to tears.
I mean,
Yeah.
it does as it would anybody. As I think if you went on Spotify now and looked up "Change Is Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke, it would
Mhm.
move you deeply. I think it will
Yeah.
always do that as a song,
Mhm.
but him singing it again in that kind of a cappella way that he sings it at the
Yeah.
end of the movie,
Mhm.
um, the meaning behind that song is emphasized by the lack of
Yeah.
any instrumental backing, I think. And
Yeah.
it's a very, very powerful performance of that very, very powerful song. And obviously, comes to a positive end for Sam Cooke in the context of this movie, in that sense,
Yeah.
because he ends with that. He ends now knowing that he has been a force for the change that has been discussed over the course of this night as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Obviously, he unfortunately, sadly, wouldn't get to see it fully come to fruition
Yeah.
because he would. Was it? Why can't I remember off the top of my head the circumstances of Sam Cooke's death? I know it's a bit. Is it a bit of a
I think it's like
suspicious one? Is it a bit of a
it's like
contentious
a
one?
car
Is it
crash
a car accident?
something. I think it's like a car accident type thing, that happened to him.
I mean, we do
Um,
see him drive very fast cars very fast in the
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I
And
would,
I
I would,
just
I
I
would
just read it too, so I'm like, "Why am I not remembering what happened to him?"
but we can find it shortly if we
Yeah.
do find it relevant. But obviously, I do think we need to speak a little bit more about what Kingsley Ben-Adir is doing as Malcolm X, who you say they all share kind of fairly equal screen time, and they do. You've
Yeah.
also said that obviously Kingsley Ben-Adir and Eli Goree were the ones put up for lead actor
Yeah.
at any awards, which also does make sense. But if there's one lead of the four, I've said he acts like the leader, Malcolm,
Yeah.
in this movie. But Kingsley Ben-Adir, I feel like as an actor, as a performance,
Mhm.
is kind of leading this whole movie. He gives, I think, the most impressive performance
I
of
think
the
so.
four,
Yeah.
and they're all
Mhm.
four of them are
They're
great.
great. Yes. They
You know,
definitely try
it's
to embody these characters without, you know, making fun or,
yeah,
falling into an impression. Um,
yeah.
Sam Cooke was a weird thing. He was shot to death in a bizarre motel incident.
No,
Yeah.
okay. It's very sad. All these
Yeah.
people just getting murdered like this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
horrible to think about.
Yeah.
Um, but no, what Kingsley Ben-Adir is doing here is so incredibly impressive. Doubly so because yes, Malcolm X is a tough person, I think, to try and play anyway because
Mhm.
of his particular nature. You want to take it deathly seriously because Malcolm X took his entire existence deathly seriously, but then you also don't want to make it, as you've said, a caricature. But
Mhm.
then you've got Denzel to compete with,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, in
That
terms
performance
of
looming. Yeah.
that performance looming in the back of your mind from,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, at this point in 2020, almost 30 years before,
Mhm.
but you think of Malcolm X on screen in movies, you're picturing Denzel Washington. You're picturing Spike Lee's Malcolm
Yeah.
X. You're
Mhm.
picturing exactly what he's doing as that man in that movie. And what Kingsley's able to do is something totally different, but equally great, I think, in way less time because Malcolm X is a
Yeah.
3-hour movie. But
And we see him also be challenged and also kind of, have a bit of hesitance and fear, which was interesting because we always think of him as this very strong person.
yeah,
I think it's Jim Brown who brings up to him, like, "Are you doing all of this more because you feel like because you're half white that you have to overcompensate, as this is where all
yeah,
this bravado is coming from? Like, do you really believe what you're saying, or are you just overcompensating for your half white side?"
yeah.
And that was
Jim
such an
Brown's
interesting. Yeah, I was so surprised when that kind of got brought up, that, is he really just putting this on as hard as he is, fighting for what he is so hard because of a bit of, uh, self-hate or, um, not fear of not being accepted by the people he's preaching to because he has this white side. Um,
yeah,
and I think it's maybe something people questioned about him at the time. So I like that that was a conversation that got brought up. And then there's also this conflict that we see him have with Ollie, which wasn't a real conflict, but that he was kind of the reason for that religious switch that
yes,
Ollie made. And as soon as he kind of got him on board, uh, Malcolm X is considering kind of leaving that religion and doing his own thing.
yeah.
So Ollie feels
Because
used.
the Nation of Islam now has another large figurehead to to
Yeah,
carry on my good work, and I don't have to do it
exactly.
anymore. And it's kind of a
Exactly.
little bit presented like
So
that.
Ali gets pissed because he feels like,
Of
"Oh, you
course, he
just used
does.
me for my name to brand your, your religious pursuits, and now you're just leaving. I'm doing this mainly because, you convinced me, and now you're
Yeah.
just gonna leave because, and you just are using me as this figurehead now." So he feels very used. And as he's kind of shrinking into himself, explaining that, "Well, I think I might be, leaving
Yes.
the Nation
And
of
to be fair,
Islam,"
look,
and
I
so to
do
see him have this really kind of sheepish lack of confidence was
yeah,
a really interesting way to frame him as well. Um,
very much
you
so.
know, far different from what we, think we know of him or what we've
Yeah,
seen of him. Yeah,
very, very, very much so.
really interesting portrayals of him. Yeah.
I appreciated that it just delved into all sides of these people as human beings.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
didn't just have, Malcolm being the militant, you know,
Yeah.
militant man that he was. It didn't just
Yeah,
have
we see some
Aldis as the
vulnerability.
theatrical man that he was. It didn't have
Mhm.
Sam Cooke as being the party boy that he was. It didn't have Jim Brown as being the laid back kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
Jim Brown took things seriously. You briefly mentioned it there, but Jim Brown is the person that brings on the kind of colorism discussions in the movie, the
Yeah.
discussions
Mhm.
about potential passing in the movie. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not
Mhm.
they're not delved that deeply.
No, but they're
But
addressed in
they're
some
brought
really
up,
interesting
they're
ways. Mhm.
addressed.
Yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. And Jim Brown's the one who brings these up because Jim Brown is, factually, I think, factually was the darkest among
Yeah.
the four of these
These
men.
men. Yeah.
And he brings up the fact that, well, that can be more difficult than,
Mhm.
you know, than what light skin black people
Yes,
have.
and, that's something I've always had some frustrations with, particularly in, the space that we love in filmmaking of colorism, and, when a movie is casting a black character, they always end up going with a biracial character because that's a
Yeah.
more digestible version of the character. Like, why has Storm from the X-Men, black woman
Yes.
from Africa, why has she never been played by a full black woman? Why has she only ever been played by biracial actresses? Because it's this, ease. And I love hearing biracial actors talk about this. Zendaya talks about it all the time, that she
Yeah.
is fully aware of this privilege she has as biracial over darker skinned black women. And she has so much respect for them. And so when she gets offered roles that are written for black women in that way, she kind of steers clear of them because she doesn't want to play into that colorism situation. She doesn't want to take something away from people because she knows she has this sense of privilege. So when
Yeah.
colorism is always addressed and talked about, and I think it's always more around, I think, women because of, beauty standards. I liked seeing men have this conversation, particularly
Yeah.
when it comes to Malcolm X, who was seen as this black icon, but, being biracial, was he overcompensating to some degree?
Yeah.
It was a really interesting thing to bring up.
And we obviously must remember to say as well, the movie doesn't suggest that there's anything wrong with that. The movie doesn't
Yeah.
suggest that, it's any, that light-skinned black people do not
Don't
have
have
it hard.
struggles or don't
Of
have it yeah, it's
course.
very much, like the misunderstanding of white privilege. Like, no one is saying that
Yeah,
white people don't have their own personal struggles. They're just saying that there's a specific part of you that doesn't have to think about this thing
yeah,
because, because of what you look like. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
And it
Jim
takes
Brown kind of
Jim
bringing
Brown,
that
who is the kind of person who, out of the four of them, you maybe wouldn't think would take this sort of stuff as seriously,
yeah,
but has that within him to bring up. And Aldis Hodge
yeah,
does a phenomenal job as in that. That's kind of his. Everybody has their scenes to shine in the movie, I
mhm,
suppose, doesn't it? But that's definitely one of Aldis Hodge's. I think
yeah,
that
mhm,
he really is able to do such good acting
yeah,
in that particular scene, speaking to Malcolm, who does go through some stress in this movie. Really,
yeah,
I
mhm,
mean, they all do, but Malcolm's going through a lot in the movie. I
Yeah,
think more
personally,
than
yeah.
anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. And so I like the structure that we do, like, we kind of talked about seeing them, hit a high and immediately get
Yeah,
knocked down. We see them go through these moments before we bring them together so that
yeah,
all of that kind of feeds into this conversation. So they do give them really great moments in terms of how the film is structured, and we know kind of, they set up the headspace that they're all sitting in right before getting into this conversation. So they all have moments to reflect and talk about their situations and compare it to the others, and really get each one to understand why what they're going through may differ from
yeah,
what they're going through, even though they're all on the same kind of playing field as Black public figures that
yeah.
have the ability to spur change.
Yeah, and as I said, it as a movie is way less interested in being a narrative than it is in just being a
Yeah.
reflection piece.
Mhm.
That's what the whole thing is. Yeah, there's a narrative element in the sense that there's character change. There's decisions that each of these characters made that feel quite final by the end of
Mhm.
the movie. Obviously, we've already talked about Sam Cooke's performance of a change is going to come.
Yeah.
Ali, we see at the end of the movie, definitively deciding to become Muhammad Ali and join
Really.
the Nation
Yeah.
of Islam.
Yeah.
Jim Brown, we see definitively retire from his NFL career
So
to
yeah, and become an actor.
continue to
Mhm.
pursue his movie career that he'd just started. And I love the conversations around that because when it's
Yeah.
first brought up, I think he first brings it up to Sam, and he thinks he's talking about producing a movie. And it's like, oh, that's great. Yeah, get into Hollywood, get producing
Yeah.
movies,
Mhm.
earn more money, good stuff.
Mhm.
Get get your influence out there. It's like,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm going to be in the
I'm
movie.
acting in
I'm
these
in the
movies.
movie. I'm starring
Yeah.
in
Yes, and he's
like, what?
talking
You're
about
not
how
an
much he's
actor?
getting paid. Yeah, and he's talking about, like, "I'm getting paid more than I would, playing in the NFL."
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm
and
the
so
best player.
yeah, exactly. So just financially, what that looks like and what that signifies, very much kind of like how
Yeah.
Sam talks about, his success and what that represents to Black people at the time. So, but
Yeah.
they kind of mock him for it and make kind of a joke of it. But he's
It's very
really
unfair.
furious
Jim Brown
about
had a
it.
great
Yeah,
acting.
he did. He did. Yeah.
So, like a lot of fun movies, the odd black exploitation one here and there as well in the early
Yeah.
70s that Jim Brown did, but very, very consistent movie career all
Mhm.
throughout his life,
Yeah.
um, which is very, very commendable that you don't get too many people changing, I suppose, celebrity-based jobs that distinctly and
Yeah.
doing that well for that long that he
Yeah.
kind of did in both of his careers, like
Mhm.
becoming the best football player of the era,
Yeah.
retiring, and then becoming like a really beloved, yeah, okay, never overly mainstream, but a really beloved cult
Kind of
actor,
cult
and that
actor,
with
yeah, mhm,
massive longevity that
mhm,
he had movies up throughout the decades.
yeah,
So it's okay. There's other people who have done that. There's other sports people who have become actors, haven't
yeah,
aren't they?
mhm.
We can Vinnie Jones, for example, is somebody that
Yeah,
was a footballer who became an
mhm,
actor. But we're not quite on the level of quality of football player or
yeah,
quality of sports person and quality of actor.
the,
I
actor,
think
yeah, mhm,
um,
yeah.
Jim Brown is probably. I'd sooner watch a Jim Brown movie than a run-of-the-mill Vinnie
Vinnie
Jones
Jones.
movie. To be honest with you, I would, and I'd certainly probably rather watch Jim Brown play his version of football as opposed to Vinnie Jones's version of football, which was more like what Muhammad Ali's famous for
Yeah.
rather than actual football. It was more about punching people and elbowing people
Yeah,
and biting people and nipping people
yes.
and getting sent off after 40 seconds. That's what Vinnie Jones was good at
Oh
on
god.
foot.
Yikes.
Um,
And now he's known for I'm the juggernaut bitch. So,
and now he's known for that, and Guy Ritchie movies, and shouting at Amanda Bynes in She's the Man.
Yes.
That's what he's known for. In fact, well, I would rather watch that movie than most, if not all, Jim Brown movies, to be honest with you. But that's not because of Vinnie Jones. And that's beside the point of talking about One Night in Miami anyway, isn't it?
And how did I manage to squeeze 2 X-Men references in this episode?
But, I mean, look, if it works, if it works, if it fits, it works, doesn't it? But do we feel satisfied is a good question by the 4 people's endings of the movie? Because we obviously know it's far from the end of their life. This is not a traditional biopic in the sense that it's not even a fit. It's
this pocket of time.
True to life. It's not even a true to life story. And we know what happened later in 2 of their cases, tragic ends. Tragic short ends. In the case of Ali, we know what the struggles he had with his Parkinson's disease towards the end. It was awful. Jim Brown did kind of last the longest. He did only die 3 years ago. But do we feel satisfied? Do you feel satisfied by the 4?
Yeah, because I think they all, lay on the table these struggles they have with this position that they're in. But ultimately come away from this conversation with wanting to do more. And so at the end of the conversation, we get, the press is outside. And so they all go out and speak to the press. And it's this kind of signaling that, yes, we are going to use these platforms to speak to the people and relate to the people and make the people proud kind of energy is what we feel when they kind of come out of this room and stand up there to talk about, their wins and their accolades and things like that. So it feels like, the song that Sam Cooke sings at the end, "Change is Gonna Come," kind of is what they all are feeling after this conversation. And so I like that it immediately ends with this speak to the people, speak to the press, speak to the world after we've kind of, come to terms with who we are and what we mean to people.
Yeah. Because that must take a lot of introspection for somebody of that fame to actually think about, really, and to actually, like,
what does that
come
mean?
to
What can I
what does that
do with
mean to
this that actually is meaningful?
But to even realize it, I think sometimes must take an awful lot of introspection. And I think it takes this conversation for these 4 to realize the level of it. I think they all realize that they're well-known people. They all realize that they are kind of beloved figures for certain people. But I don't think they all realize exactly what that means or exactly the level of impact, again, at this time that they could have. It does make you wonder what any very, very notable, famous person must think about their own fame level. And because they've got to be aware of it to some degree. I don't think anybody's famous without being aware they're famous. I'd be stunned if there is. I couldn't think of somebody who seems like they're not aware of it. But it is, yes, for these people at this time, it's significantly different than just random, celebrity from now being famous. It's a little bit different, but there's different responsibilities that random celebrity from now has that these people didn't have in the modern world. But what I'd love to speak to people about this. Speak to actual, high profile people about this. What impact do you think you have on all those people watching you, listening to you, celebrating you, supporting you,
Yeah.
what impact do you think you have on them? And does it go deeper than just I make them happy, or I make them think, or how
Yeah.
deep does it go? Does it go this deep that we see in this movie? And if it doesn't, maybe it probably should.
Yeah.
Maybe it probably should go this deep. Maybe maybe go and watch One Night in Miami. And yeah, okay, it might not be overly relevant to each individual's specific world, in their own
Yeah.
each individual specific person. But the principles of it, I think you could take into anyone and realize that with fame comes responsibility. And it is what Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown learn in this movie.
Mhm.
With this fame comes responsibility. And don't mess up that responsibility, because how many times do we see that and it all goes down the toilet,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, even with Regina telling this story, like, I think she could have potentially felt the same way about her making it. I mean, I think I read that she was the first Black female director to have a film at the Venice Film Festival because of this movie.
Yeah,
So,
mad.
she probably has to be cognizant of her impact as well as a Black woman making films,
Absolutely.
as a Black woman in this industry for as long as she's been in it. Um,
And she's
so
clearly also an actor's director as well. I think
Yes.
that goes
Mhm.
without saying. Yes, okay,
Yeah,
she's a very good
and
actor herself, obviously, but
yes,
it's
yes.
clear from this movie she is one to emphasize the performance above
Exactly, and
all
this
other aspects.
yeah, and this movie is one that focuses wholly on that because it's just 4 men sitting in a room having a
Yeah,
conversation, so how do you make that interesting? So, yeah, I think she could have put that same question to herself as to, you know, the responsibility of portraying these men and telling the story and grappling with, combining a fictional aspect to who people, who people thought these men were to who these men really were. So the heavy responsibility of telling this story and portraying these people in the way that she did it was probably maybe something she really had to think about in terms of herself as a filmmaker and an actor. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that that level of introspection from Regina, I think, does come across in the movie, because I don't think you would have been able to make a movie about all that without having it yourself to
Hmm.
a certain level. So
Yeah.
it's very commendable from Regina
Hmm.
King as well, but a really, really wonderful movie.
Yeah.
What a kind of a vital movie of the modern era.
Hmm.
It's only 6 years old. I know we think of 2020 like it was yesterday still,
I
but
know.
it's 6
Yeah.
years ago now, but it's still a 2020s movie. I think when I think of 2020s movies, they're very, very recent movies. So
Yeah.
it's it's certainly one that continues to deserve to be remembered
Hmm.
fondly, I think, and revisited and thought of and kept protected. I know it's got a nice Criterion edition, so it will naturally now always be well thought of and
Yeah.
protected in that sense as a movie. But it just struck me as one of those kind of vital think pieces
Hmm.
in that you get sometimes in movies. We've not. Yes, okay. The other movies we've covered in this directorial debut series have been very, very good and very impactful, and
Hmm.
certainly some of them kind of groundbreaking in certain aspects, and very vital in certain aspects, things
Yeah.
I think that one should watch over the course of their life. But I don't know, One Night in Miami just feels that a little bit. Maybe it's because it's purposefully speaking on all that, but it just feels like it needs to be more than the others, maybe. And I'm even putting like Ordinary People in there, which I think
Oh,
is
okay.
just phenomenal,
Mhm.
you know, incredible depiction of the positivity of therapy and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. This ranking that I'm now going to have to do is going to be very interesting, I think.
Yes. I mean, all these films had a bit of a therapeutic through line of talking and communication
Yeah.
and therapy through really talking things out and talking things through and
Apart from the middle movie, which was just
sharing
about
your
somebody who needed it.
yes, who needed therapy. Um, but being able to share your perspective and have someone listen was kind of a common through line through these films, mental health and therapy. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really curious to hear your ranking of these directorial debut films. And just again, a shout out to Jennifer Lewis for spawning
Oh,
this
yes, of
idea.
course.
So thank you to her.
Enormous thank you to Jennifer. We should have continued to say that over the course of
Yeah,
the
I mean, the
series.
first 2 picks were ones she suggested, and then the rest of these were new films to her, so I hope that she was able to, check them out and listen to our discussions and, discover these films right along with us.
Let us know,
So
Jennifer. Let us know.
yeah.
Then again, doubly, triply thank you for suggesting this amazing series, which
Mhm.
I I'll start off with a bold statement, I think, Jeannine, for my ranking, which I think the directorial debut series may have become the pound for pound greatest series in Morgan Hasn't
Oh,
Seen history.
wow, okay. Oh, I think we were always
Um,
saying our courtroom
yes,
series
which
was the
is very good,
the best of
consistent,
them.
but
Yeah.
this needs to be level of consistency of quality of
Mhm.
movie
Yeah.
at its absolute finest. And yes, we have always said the Courtroom Movies series, which is a phenomenal series.
Yeah.
I just feel like there was something happening with this directorial
And
debut
something just
series.
so interesting about, we're talking about Regina being an actor's director as she's an actor. All of these people were actors first,
Well,
and
yeah, I
this
mean,
was
that's
their
the point.
first
No,
foray into the filmmaking. So to have this to you feel like the best series, consistently of films, the best grouping of films that we've done, just speaks to how much these actors took in from their craft and how
yeah.
much they care and how insightful they were to take on this new role for them and make these really interesting, impactful, really well-made movies their first time
And
out.
it's important that I keep reiterating I'm talking about pound for pound, the best series. There are better movies we have discussed
Yeah.
than all 5 of these movies we discussed in the directorial debut series. There are better movies that we have discussed in the past on Morgan Hasn't Seen. There are plenty of movies I would prefer. If I was to rank all of them, I mean, we had a big celebration once, didn't we? If I can't
Yeah,
quite remember which milestone it was for, where we
yeah,
discovered my, the all-time favorite Morgan Hasn't Seen movies, which was
up to that
an
point.
incredible time. I think it was the
Yeah,
250th episode, if you want to go back and
yeah, and listen to
listen to
that,
that.
and we think yeah,
Um, Obviously, it's only talking about movies from the first 249 episodes of It's a Wonder of
yeah,
Morgan Hasn't Seen, and nothing
yeah,
since.
yeah,
But it's still be well worth a checking out.
yeah,
But I am saying pound for pound that this is the best series now, which
okay.
makes the ranking very difficult indeed.
Yeah,
Because I kind of have to pick a reasoning. And I feel like I have to go with my reasoning being, what am I going to watch again now?
yeah,
So I'm going to have to go Play Misty for me at 1.
Oh,
because that's what I'm going to
okay.
have to watch again now.
Okay.
I'm then going to have to go One Night in Miami at 2.
Okay.
I'm then going Ordinary People.
Mhm.
I'm then going Antoine Fisher. And I'm going Rachel as the 5th. And all 5 amazing movies, wonderful movies. That is just the order in which I think I would prefer to watch them all again. Not from any sort of through line perspective, but in terms of the one I would go and watch now, the one I would go and watch after that. I hope that made
And
somewhat sense.
yes, 100%, because that's probably my ranking as well.
Okay.
Yes, I think, the most entertaining one, and then we kind of get into more deeper, interesting, character-driven, not retrospective, introspective,
Yeah.
kind of thoughts as we go down the line. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with that ranking. Mine would be the same.
Nice. What a series it has been.
Yeah.
Goodness and Brice, you've outdone yourself. You always outdo yourself
Yeah.
if you, of course, do listen to the questions specials every month.
Yeah.
You will know that Jennifer Lewis tends to outdo herself. So you certainly did on suggesting our directorial debuts series. We've got a fun one coming next month, though, as well, though, haven't we? For
Mhm.
May,
Yeah.
Morgan Hasn't Seen. Alien Invasion is what we're
Mhm.
calling it. A nice little variety of sci-fi alien
Yeah.
invasion movies.
Yeah, we
Which,
got some campy stuff, we got some really creative stuff, we got some big blockbustery franchise stuff. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, we got
fun
some
times.
comedies. So we got a good mix. I'm really curious to see your thoughts on next week's film, because
Okay.
it's basically a visual story. There's no dialogue in the movie. So
Oh, damn.
yeah.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
interesting. That's
Yes.
actually very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Alien Invasion coming up on
Mhm.
Morgan Hasn't Seen. Of course, this, though, is not the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed, as the name of our feed would suggest. It's a Wonderful Podcast itself. The main show is there on a Friday every week, celebrating old movies. That is what we do. There, we're about to start a Paul Newman, a 5-week-long Paul Newman series on
Yeah.
the main show as well.
Mhm.
That's very exciting, namely
Yes.
because we get to look at Paul Newman for
Oh
5
my gosh,
weeks.
those eyes. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to handle it. Ugh, gorgeous man.
I don't think anybody is, maybe we just put each of those episodes out as video episodes, but just with a picture of Paul Newman as the video.
And just the whole yes, yeah,
That's
so
good
you can
enough.
look at him
That's
too.
gonna be good enough for people.
Yes, and I've never seen any of these movies, so it's gonna be a really
Ah,
fun journey for me. Yeah.
very much so. Very much so. That is the main show. This is Morgan Hasn't Seen. We also have our TV-based things on a Monday, currently alternating our diving into Doctor Who and investigating it. Welcome to Derry, that will shortly be coming to its end before we get
Mhm.
back in to discovering Dawson's Creek, which has been an
Yeah.
awfully long time in the waiting, and our first full series, obviously without James Van Der Beek
James Van Der
with
Beek,
us
yeah.
now as
Mhm.
well, which is going to be poignant.
Yeah.
But exciting to get back into that for sure. As we said before, do subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel if you are watching today's episode, or subscribe wherever you are listening to today's show as well on all major podcast platforms. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like, share, all the good stuff wherever you are. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, you can find links to do that in the description of today's episode. Or, of course, you can find us on across all the social medias on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dom with a 3 instead of the E in there, because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at The Purple Dawn. All your Miami is where. I don't know what that was. What did I do then?
You can find me at Jeannine__ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
There we go. That is going to do it. Does only leave one thing left to do. And then you know how we were talking about people not doing caricatures?
Yes, exactly. I don't want to do that either.
You can pick one. Pick one of the people. I'm going to let you pick one. I'm not going to force you into the Ali impression.
Oh my gosh, I can't do any of that. Oh my gosh.
Even though it's kind of the easiest, isn't it? You know
Yeah,
it is.
but it's
You
also,
know-
but
you
I
know
still
it's
can't
kind of
do it. I still can't do it. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.